Hello, Phantom friends. Welcome to Spooky AF Pod. My name is Suz, and I'm joined by my co-host Rob. Rob, how are we doing?
We are good. I am very good, actually. I've had a good week. It's been like mad busy in work, but I've been doing like different things in work, like job interviews and things like that. And I've gotten some interesting stories and responses from people that I cannot talk about on this, but I will talk to you about afterwards.
I was about to say we absolutely have to cover that like off air.
Yeah, some interesting stories were dropped in.
I know. I was on an interview panel recently, and by recently I mean it was kind of last year, but they some of the things people said, I was like, wow, that was a choice.
Oh yeah.
Did you mean to use your inside head voice?
Yep. Yeah. It's been great. I've been enjoying it. I love doing interviews, though. I'm one of those weird people that I love both like sitting on interview panels, but also being interviewed.
Oh, me too. That's me too.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think it's just as is proven by this podcast. I think we just like to talk. I think we're just like bad people.
I walk into a room and I'm like, wait, you people have to listen to me.
Yeah, you walk into a pub and you're like, everybody shut the fuck up. I'm about to start speaking.
Yeah, I'm here now. You know, it's fine. I'm kind of a big deal, and you all got to listen to me.
We're really fun to hang out with and not annoying at all. So,
no, absolutely
just
not.
In case anyone was wondering.
Once you pass the hazing, then you're okay.
Well, we before we started recording, I was just like, we do this, like we would do this even if no one after a year had at all listened to any one of our podcasts. We would still be doing this because it's just fun.
100%. At this point now, it basically serves as a record for basically just conversations that we have.
Yep.
We've now got like 45 recorded records of our conversations.
And I'm okay with that. That's a nice and since we're both part of childless couples, like this is the only legacy we're gonna leave.
Exactly. This is my bloodline.
Yes, this curse ends here.
But basically, myself and my wife have an agreement that, when I'm gone, the dog takes everything, because he is going to live forever, and and that's perfectly fine. He is second of my name, basically.
Oh God. Oh, also I know we've mentioned it several times now, but this is the first time we're recording where this is a podcast that is fully hosted by Irish citizens.
Yes, it is.
So
how does it feel?
Booyah.
How does it feel, sis?
Oh my God. So good. Like, so profoundly. Such a fucking relief. Oh my God. Like a 13-year journey since I left the States.
Well, to be fair,
tried to convince Europe to take me.
Well, you did pick the best country in Europe, to be fair. I have no problem saying that, and anyone else who disagrees, you're just wrong. So.
So yeah, it was fun. I do want to say that I did think it was kind of a choice that the music to which I became an Irish citizen was an Elvis medley that included Viva Las Vegas.
That's pretty on par for Ireland.
I was like, I remain intrigued.
That's pretty on par for us. Like if you had said that it had like Sweet Caroline by Neil Diamond playing as well, I would also accept that.
Oh, just before the ceremony started, over the tannoy, there was a cover of "Hit Me Baby One More Time" playing. There you go. I was like, this is clearly like this is the level of class that I belong.
Look,
I belong. This is
You're
it.
here for a fun time,
Oh yeah, like the crack is mighty.
We have to let the people coming in know what to expect.
They're like, you're fucking Irish now. Yeah. This is what it is.
You've been here at least 5 yeyears. You know the deal.
I went to Supermax afterwards, and you've never been more proud of me.
When you sent me that picture, I was so proud.
It's just me in front of like a chicken tender meal sitting in a Supermax holding like the Irish pin I got at the ceremony.
It was probably the most Irish picture I've ever gotten.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It was phenomenal. So happy. I'm so proud of you.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I thought we were walking, like I was starving when we left the ceremony, so then we were walking at like the direction of O'Connell Street. I was like, I want fucking Supermax. My husband was like, yeah, you do. And so he was like, yeah, there's no other choice here.
It's in you now. You've got that dog in you.
Yeah. It's like, I'm pretty sure it was in the little booklet they gave me under like reasons we can revoke your citizenship. It was like not immediately going to Supermax.
See, the thing that I love about Supermax, and there's a friend of mine who sometimes listens to the show that I hope this is the episode he chooses to listen to. The thing about Supermax, and it's one of the best things ever, you can still get milk as a drink there. So
Yep.
You can just get a fucking liter of milk with your chicken burger.
And I love that it's the kind of place where you could legitimately walk up and be like you could just order something that's not on the menu and they'd be like, yeah, all right.
Yep.
Like,
Absolutely.
You could go up and order like bangers and mash and they'd be like, all right, just give us a minute.
And they give you curry sauce as well if you ask for it, which is great. So I'm all about that.
Yeah, for sure.
anyone that is not aware of Supermax, it's basically Ireland's answer to McDonald's, and it's better in every way, effectively.
It is the only problem with Supermax is that it is pricier than McDonald's.
It is, but you're paying.
Like,
you're
so
paying for
I
class,
want it.
though.
I want it to be cheaper than it. No, I know you're getting better quality, but like, I want it to be cheaper so I can go there more
that's
often.
fair. That's absolutely fair. I think I remember reading somewhere before, maybe it was over the pandemic or something, that they were like in talks about opening one in Sydney, and apparently like
Australia,
because there's so many Irish people there that they were like, this is gonna be a hit. Like, don't worry,
this is gonna work.
Us cook.
Apparently we're getting a Wendy's, and in fact we're getting like 5 Wendy's.
I don't know how I don't know if I vibe with that.
I'm really excited because I am a whore for a Wendy's chicken nugget, but then again I started thinking about it and I was like, Suz, what fast food are you not a whore for? And the answer is I don't know.
But you see, this would be Wendy's without high fructose corn syrup, so you might feel very differently about it.
Yeah, but what I would get at Wendy's wouldn't have high fructose corn syrup in it. Oh well, maybe I would usually get a chocolate frosty.
How you've
so like maybe that.
talked yourself back into being like, no, that checks out.
I mean, I will say, like, what was it my husband told me? Like, so there's an ingredient so like McDonald's fries in America are apparently not vegan because they have so many extra ingredients. Because like in Europe, they're potatoes, sunflower oil, and salt, the ingredients for fries. Yep. But in America, they have all these like additives and stuff. And one of them is just an additive that makes potatoes look browner. So they look better cooked than they are.
Oh my God. Jesus Christ, McDonald's. What the fuck?
I know. That's why I don't really eat McDonald's if I go visit home. I will only eat McDonald's in Europe because at least it has to be because of regulations, like genuine kind of food products.
Yeah, it follows the law basically.
Yeah, exactly. Like it isn't actively like growing cancer inside me.
Why am I not surprised?
Yeah. So
I have a film update for you actually, and I know that we talked about this already in person, but I'm gonna tell the masses as well.
Yes.
I I watched When Evil Lurks recently, and
oh yes,
oh my God, it is quite the film. I would suggest anyone who hasn't watched it, you should. It's quite the ride. It's basically about demons and exorcisms.
Oh, that's your hard trigger of like, oh no.
Yeah, so it's demons and exorcisms are basically like normalized, and it's set in Argentina, and I literally cannot give any other descriptors for it because I'll spoil the film.
Incredible.
But everyone should watch it. If you're in any way interested in horror films, you should watch this. It's good.
No, it's on my list.
And
I also wanted to say that go ahead.
No, you're grand.
No, I was just gonna say that for whenever we decide to actually like do a Ouija board session, I know we've been talking about it for ages. I purchased a dress that has Ouija boards and Victorian headstone print all over it.
Yeah, you did.
So just to really drive home the fact that I don't believe in them.
Good.
I'm wearing them as fashion.
Excellent. I'm all about that. I'm looking forward to that.
Whereas you're gonna come in like in a full like a priest's habit or something just to try like the monk
Obviously.
robe to try and yeah, for sure.
I've got my Birkenstocks day classes.
I was about to say you've got the Birkenstocks.
I'll walk in there and the power of Christ is going to compel me, and there's nothing that anyone can do about it.
Well, the Birkenstock is the modern answer to the Jesus rope sandal.
It's true. It is very true. And anyone who knows me knows that I pretty much only wear flip-flops or Birkenstocks when I'm not in work. So I've got this down, don't worry.
Yeah, oh for sure. You're like everybody's like Mexican aunt in Texas. Like you wear like the same pair of flip-flops and you can like or like my Mimi, oh god, she used to fucking like she would kill a bug with a fucking flip-flop in 3.2 seconds.
Yeah. I did.
Just like fly across the room.
Look, I used it for doing all sorts of stuff. It's a fairly universal tool, actually, the flip-flop. Like, it does a lot.
The flip-flop, yeah. I can just imagine you being like climbing Kirkpatrick and you're just like, this is fucking fine. Flop, 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 flop.
The thing is, like, I would happily try to do that. I just know that my wife would divorce me, so...
And she'd be right to do so, Rob.
Yeah, she would. Look, it's what keeps it interesting.
That's true. The last thing I wanted to mention before I dive into my story is, so you know how Elon Musk has been using, like, his son, the one he has with Grimes,
as a meat shield?
as a meat shield, but that the meat shield is, like, the poor boy, that he's dressed like he's from, like, the 1860s. Yep. Like, he looks like he's in sepia.
He does.
And I'm like, why is he dressed like that one child in Hogwarts Legacy that you have to help save?
He looks like he is at risk of, like, TB and rickets. And...
He has rickets. I was about to say, he's got rickets. Like,
he does.
Like, the fact that his name is a sci-fi name, but when I look at him, I'm like, no, your name is like Bartholomew Clivedale.
Yeah, and he yearns for the mines.
Oh, no, he doesn't yearn for the mines in that little suit. He's like, he owns the mines. He sends the other children down into the mines.
Basically. Like, it's kind of insane that he is literally just like a walking organ donation.
He's just haunting the White House. Yeah. Hello.
Yeah.
You're not my president. He just like appears behind.
He's a little fucking weirdo. I'm sorry, but
no, he's young.
No, he's strange. I can't vibe with that. No.
I mean, his father is basically running around the White House with a golden chainsaw and, I don't know, like, no pants on or something, so...
And also just, like, coked out of his fucking mind. Yeah.
Also, I'm like, why choose that young, sweetheart kid? You've got, like, 12 billion other children, and then I was like, oh, wait, none of them talk to him.
This is the one that hasn't been tainted by him just yet.
God.
Yeah.
So I think I'm gonna dive in because mine is kind of connected. Well, I was inspired because of everything going on in the world. Because like every time I check the Associated Press app, I swear to God, every single headline I feel like it's from Not the Onion.
Of course, we're in that
I'm
timeline now.
Oh yeah, like I'm reading a combination of words that shouldn't make sense, but they do. So I'm actually gonna double down. I'm gonna retreat to the world of even further insanity, and I'm hitting you with another conspiracy theory,
Fucking
Rob.
Fantastic. I'm already locked in.
Good, and I think you're gonna be, because I found this one to be like kind of both simple and insane, and also offensive to anyone with a history background. So
yeah, I will
Rob.
say, Suz, before we started recording, said, I'm so sorry, because what I'm about to do is going to insult your background, your education
because like
background.
both of us have degrees in history. Yeah. And so Rob, what year is it?
It is, unfortunately, 2025.
No, you fucking idiot. It's not. It's 1728.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. Please tell me how it is.
You're about 297 years off. And it's kind of cringe that you don't know that, if I'm honest.
Oh, I'm sorry. Are we reading off like the Georgian calendar?
Well, we're gonna get into it. Okay. So... what you're clearly forgetting is that in 1991, or, clock that back 297 years and that'd be the correct date, we found out about the Phantom Time Conspiracy.
Of course. That's how silly of me to forget that.
Have you heard of this?
No, I have not.
Oh my god, I'm so glad. So, that's right. There was a conspiracy in the Middle Ages to just skip 297 years forward, meaning that the years CE 614 to 911 were simply just fucking erased.
Oh, there you go. You've answered it right there, 9/11.
9/11, oh god. A second tower has hit the Middle Ages? A second plane. Shit, I don't know. Anyway, so I'm gonna trace where this conspiracy came from, what the proponent says actually happened, and then the obvious major critiques of it.
Well, I appreciate that we're talking about conspiracies, and you've already managed to mention 9/11 in an indirect manner. So I'm just gonna go ahead and just say it's probably the Illuminati.
It's definitely the Illuminati. The Black Pyramid is providing electricity to this conspiracy theory.
If this podcast finds its way to Dan Brown, you're basically giving him his new book.
Rob, I'm gonna need you to buckle in.
Oh yes,
because you're in for a bumpy ride.
Right, I'm gonna take a sip of coffee and I am locked in.
This goes all the way to the top.
Fantastic.
So first, some sources. Naturally, we have some really funnily written. I really appreciated the people who wrote the Wikipedia article on this. DiscoverMagazine.com, Big Think, Forbes, History Facts, and what's called the Newsletter of Not Quite Everything on Substack. So, the question is, how did we all just forget that we skipped 300 years, and how are we not talking more about it? And so, this seems to have originated by historian, and I'm putting historian in like 100% necessary scare quotes. Like, can you see me creating those quotes by the tone of my
100%,
voice?
yeah.
Heribert Illig in 1991.
Okay.
So before we get into the granularity of the conspiracy theory, let's talk about Illig. So he was born in 1947 in Bavaria, Germany, and he was an active member of a society committed to the work of Immanuel Velikovsky, who was a Russian-American author, psychoanalyst, and catastrophist in the early half of the 20th century. And I'm like, catastrophist? I'm of that ilk because I frequently have catastrophic thinking, as according to my therapist. But then I was like, oh no, he's not mentally unwell in that way.
So you're Irish now, so you just have to push that deep down, and then you don't ever deal with it.
Just a deck. Push it down, feck it down.
Yeah. It's the Irish way. Never, ever, ever allow anyone to talk about emotions.
No, you bury it like further down than a bog
And if
body.
anyone asks you how you're doing, you just go, sure, you know yourself.
Sure, you know yourself. I'm grand. Like, everything's grand. So Velikovsky was known for his pseudo-historical interpretations of mostly ancient history, and his work now serves as a canonical example of pseudoscience.
Oh, wow. Okay. Can I ask
However,
a question about this guy?
Yep. Yes.
Is he the one who also talked about the, oh god, what are they called? The Tartarians? It's like,
I don't know for sure.
okay.
So I didn't dig too far deep into him because it was kind of bonkers and I just didn't have time.
Okay.
So I might go into him more in like a later like fun episode or something.
Interesting, because that
Not
also
that
came...
any of our episodes are like serious. I'm like, what the fuck am I talking
Yeah,
about?
because that also came from a Russian dude as well. So I'm just curious if it's crossover or not.
I mean, yeah, I sure, canon. It's a slash fic, you know. Like,
Right. Okay.
sorry. So his book, which actually was really popular at the time, I think it was released in 1950, but it's called Worlds in Collision. And the main thesis of this book is that in the 15th century BCE, Venus was ejected from Jupiter.
Yeah, that checks out.
As in the planet Venus was like shat out by Jupiter and shot across the sky like a comet.
Well, like,
and it,
you know, this all checks out because Mercury generally is not in retrograde when that happens. So, you know, it happened outside of Mercury's watch.
No, Rob, I think you'll find by the events of my life, Mercury has never been in anything but retrograde since at least 1990. So, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Anyway, so it traveled like a comet near Earth, and it came so close to Earth that it changed the Earth's orbit and axis.
Yep, it did, yeah.
So, yep, he claims that this caused innumerable catastrophes like floods, tsunamis, earthquakes, fires, you name it, and that these kind of catastrophic events are the ones that are articulated in early myth and religions. So, like, you know, Noah, you know, God flooding the earth, which several religions have that kind of Diluvian myth, all that. Totally Venus's fault, what a bitch.
Yep. Okay, very good.
So, yeah, so you're like, okay, weird, whatever. So, naturally, immediately, it was totally panned as an accurate bunk. However, it was a very popular bestseller, which shows that, like, crap content that makes us dumber existed way before TikTok and Instagram Reels.
Yeah, it did. This is around, like, the time that also there would have been that book published. It's like the blood of the... It's like the blood of the Holy Grail or something like that. It was that whole...
I was about to say the blood of the uterus, the monthly curse.
Yeah.
But, sorry.
It's like the holy... Oh, yeah, the Holy Blood and the Holy Grail. It's full on, like, conspiracy theory book, like, linking the... Yeah, like, the bloodline of Jesus and, like, Knights Templar and all that sort of stuff. That...
Rob, it was called the Da Vinci Code. What the fuck are you talking about?
I know. But, yeah, this is around the same time, like, the 50s, 60s. I think that book came out in, like, the 70s, so it's like, the perfect timeline for all this to happen.
Oh yeah, for sure. So that's what Velikovsky was known for. So we're gonna jump back to Illig. Now, Illig, like I said, was a big Velikovsky proponent. He was part of like that society or whatever that was, had probably like a shrine of them in their little offices or whatever, allegedly. So Illig is the author of the Phantom Time conspiracy theory. So he was the editor of multiple journals that also seemed to quite heavily dabble in pseudoscience, pseudohistory, and counterfactual history, which as anyone who knows anything about like counterfactual history or revisionist history can lead you like very, very far right very quickly.
Yeah, it's a pretty quick like turn.
Yeah. The pipeline from, oh, maybe it didn't happen this way, to there was no Holocaust is surprisingly slick. Like,
yeah, it's in worryingly efficient in how quickly they move.
Oh, yeah. Or like how, like very quickly you're like, oh, Europeans are like the peak of evolution. You're like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, so it's a big yikes. I didn't see anything in, like, again, scant research, because, we are in this podcast. Yep. But I didn't see anything that dabbled in that, but I'm not saying it's not there, so just, if you ever want to look into it, just be aware that I don't know, but maybe it's there, so just check your Nazi radar, check it well. So anyway, Illig started his own publishing company, which to me at that time, like, it gives me the same vibes as a self-declared alpha bro who's like starting his own podcast about how, women are hypergamous or whatever the fuck they like to say.
Yeah, like it gives off the real vibe of like calling yourself an author because you self-publish on Amazon.
Oh yeah, and like really adopting evolutionary psychology as, your approach to why guys need to be dicks to women and why all American women are, fat feminists except for, the hot trad wife influencers.
Of course, that all checks out.
Yeah. Anyway, so he started his own publishing company, which I'm also thinking, if you had to start your own publishing company to publish your own goddamn
It tells
work,
you everything you need to know about the man, like right there.
He basically self-published on Amazon Kindle.
Yep.
So he was previously known for his revisionist history of ancient Egypt, which, again, I don't know the specifics of, but if I had to hazard a guess, I would imagine is kind of based in the same idea that a lot of people who do that, ancient alien revisionist Egyptian history nonsense, which basically means, like, they're saying, but black people couldn't possibly have, like, this civilization.
Yeah.
Which is obviously super racist. So, again, if you're gonna look into it, it might be there. I don't know.
Yep.
Keep an eye out.
Yeah, just beware. That's all.
Yeah. Protect yourself. Yep. Protect your peace, King. So Illig turns his attention to the Middle Ages, and that's how we got the Phantom Time hypothesis, which he was promoting, I think, as late as 2013. So not all that long ago, especially to old millennials like us, who very vividly remember 2013.
Yeah.
So the hypothesis says that the Holy Roman Emperor Otto III was in cahoots with Pope Sylvester II, and according to some sources, the Byzantine Emperor Constantine VII, to basically cook the books and manifest Gerboss it into being a different year.
Of course. Why not?
Yep. Yeah. So why would they do this? Well, according to Illig, these men decided that they all wanted to date their reigns at the year 1000 AD because they thought it gave them more legitimacy and sounded super duper cool.
Okay.
To say that, like, we were ruling at the turn of the millennium.
Weirdly believable.
Whatever.
It gives off like, yeah.
I'm gonna get into what it gives off because it gets crazy. Yeah. So, now, how they did this, according to Illig, again, everything I'm going to say about this is according to this one dude. So, they cut out the years 614 to 911, where, nothing happened, apparently. But, so that means no Charlemagne, no conquest of Spain by Muslim forces, no Viking raids in Britain, none of that. No. But how did they pull it off? I hear you asking.
I'm curious, yeah.
I mean, yeah, so other than just being in charge of everyone and, being able to read, which back in the day was all, gave you a fair amount more agency than the average person.
Yep.
Illig claims that they revised historical events and even just flat out, like, made some up. So that he thinks that they made up, like, Charlemagne.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Yeah. They just made that motherfucker up.
Absolutely.
The guy that if you go on to Ancestry.com and, like, trace your line back, if you have any European ancestry, it all goes back to Charlemagne, basically. Yep. Nope, not real. Fuck off.
Of course.
So,
that checks out. Yep.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Illig also said that they planted fake evidence.
Oh, here we go.
Bits of treasure for real kind of wise historians to dig up later. As in, they were basically forecasting a la the Da Vinci Code.
Okay. Yeah. This is the same people who also believe that dinosaurs aren't real.
No, they were real. We just lived alongside them with, the Remington 19.
Yeah. No, there's people who legitimately believe that, like, dinosaurs did not exist and that the evidence of them was just planted to create some sort of, like, narrative.
How did they create big bones?
Suz, I'm there with you, trust me.
Like, back in the day, like, up until recently, there were not 3D printers.
Yep.
I mean, was it just some really, like, avid sculptor who was like, I've got a plan. I know what my purpose is.
Yeah, I'm going to plant bones across the entire globe.
Plant bones.
Yeah.
I want to plant my bones. Everybody thought he was super weird. Nobody talked to him, and all he did was go around and just plant bones. Talking
like salad fingers, basically.
Oh, yeah. I'm also thinking we should now come up with a meaning for the phrase plant bones, because I think that we could get, like, Gen Alpha to adopt it.
I think so. There's potential there.
Yeah. So speaking of planting evidence and terminology, ooh, that segue was hot. Some of the evidence to be discovered was alleged to include, so they intentionally created discrepancies between the Julian and Gregorian calendars.
Yep.
I don't know. He also claims that Otto and Sylvester, ordered scribes to create manuscripts for the missing centuries of events that didn't happen.
Of course. Yep.
So it's almost like the medieval equivalent of a false flag event, if I'm understanding it correctly.
It pretty much is.
Like the government just making up shit that didn't happen, even though, like, Charlemagne did happen, everybody.
Yeah.
Hashtag don't forget Charlemagne.
I have some strong opinions on people like this.
Yep, oh yeah. As you should.
Yeah. I'm also thinking in particular, that guy Graham Hancock, who I don't even want to get into why I think he's just a horrific person and so problematic. But
I don't know who that is, and I'm kind of glad.
He's basically this British, and I'm not going to call him an archaeologist because he isn't. He's a fucking pseudoscientist, like, grifter, who basically believes in the, like, lost civilization theory, that there's, like, lost civilizations from the Ice Age.
Is this like Atlantis
Yeah,
shit?
he's literally, in his research, and I really, like, stretch the word research there.
Those scare quotes are large.
Claims that, like, Atlantis was real, and not only was it real, but they are actually Native Americans. And
what?
He's basically tied it into the Native Americans are the lost Atlanteans, and then he made some really problematic words to describe what they are, and I cannot repeat them on this.
Oh my god.
But
The only theory of Atlantis I will get behind is the one that's posited in, there's a Rick and Morty episode. It's one of the highest rated ones, called the Atlantis Mix-Up.
Yeah.
Where the A plot, you think the A plot is going to be them going to Atlantis to, quote, get some mermaid puss. Yep. But it ends up being this, like, on the Citadel of Rick and Morty's anyway. It's like a huge B plot thing. But anyway, so that's the only one I'll get behind, is, like, somewhere that, like, Rick and Morty can go to try and bang mermaids.
Pretty much, yeah. And like, look, that's what it should be for everyone. But no, this guy, he has somehow managed to convince Netflix to make a series for him.
Oh, how is it that he can get a series and I can't get a second season of 1899?
I know. He's had, like, multiple seasons, I think, where he basically talks about Atlantis and then also talks about how the Egyptians, like, created the pyramids to, like, mirror, like, the constellation of Orion and all. He's a fucking looper, basically. But he's currently still around and would have gotten popular in the early 90s as well. So, like, these guys definitely know each other. Like, they
oh yeah, they are definitely on the same WhatsApp chat.
And anytime someone talks about him in work, I just get such a reaction that I've had to now just be like, you know what, I can't engage with this. It's come up in work where I've heard people being like, yeah, I watched that new show that's on Netflix, you know, the, like, Lost Civilization one. It's like, oh, it gives you loads to think about. And I'm just like, no. Like,
no, it doesn't.
Because
it absolutely doesn't.
Netflix have done is they've whitewashed his like, really problematic theories and basically makes it just look like he's effectively like a modern day Indiana Jones hunting for a lost civilization. And they just completely glance over all of the shit that he has said in the past. And his his way of saying that he wasn't racist when he was accused of being racist was, of course I'm not racist. I believe in native rights. And everyone was just like, cool, okay.
What?
Like, that's great.
What? Like, then did he call his friend and be like, here, listen to my black
Literally
friend?
pulled I've got black friends. Like,
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
God.
So, I'm probably going to delete this bit from the episode.
You know what?
Yeah.
Fair enough. So let's get back to Illic. So he ordered that scribes create manuscripts for the missing century, so basically making fanfic of time. And I do wonder what some of what, part of me wants to be like, oh, was it like, oh, and then Otto got all the hot babes because he had the biggest schlong.
Oh,
like, do you know what I mean?
yeah.
Like, it just really gassed them up. But as we know, we've talked about before, like, the more people who are supposed to be, like, in on the conspiracy and who are involved in keeping the conspiracy theory a conspiracy, like, the more there are, the less likely it is to work.
Absolutely.
That's why, like, that's how you can debunk almost any conspiracy theory, is the fact that, like, yeah, of course the moon landing actually happened, because the sheer amount of people it would take to not tell anybody that it didn't happen is inconceivable.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, no one's gonna keep a secret, for fuck's sake. It's not in our nature.
No, and if you're relying on guys to not brag about knowledge that they have...
Oh, yeah, like secret knowledge, oh god.
No, not gonna happen. Like, absolutely not.
He's gonna put it as part of his Tinder profile.
Absolutely. Like,
Like,
ask me...
moon landing fake, swipe right for more details.
Ask me about the moon.
Ask me about the moon. That could be on your dog's dating profile.
100%. Yeah. Oh my god, he really does. Like, my dog has some strong feelings about the moon, especially at about 11:30 at night when everyone else is asleep.
That's honestly the thing that pissed us off the most about watching your dog that weekend, was the fact that you let the dog out for his last pee of the night and he just forgets to pee because he's too busy staring and yelling at the moon.
Like, he does this really sweet thing initially where he just, like, sits down and just looks up at the sky, and it's almost like he's just in deep thought looking at things. And then he sees the moon and he's like, you motherfucker.
I knew you were back. And then he'll try to come in and you're like, no, go piss.
Yeah.
Like,
and then he, like, looks at you being like, I don't know what you're trying to tell me. The moon is out here.
yeah, how can I piss with the moon watching?
Yeah.
So anyway, so no one can keep a secret. That's why, another reason why this didn't happen. Okay, so now this is something I say, the only thing that could ever potentially slightly support this theory is that if you can imagine, like, I would imagine that I'm not my history degree did not specialize in medieval Europe. However, I can imagine that the majority of the population in Europe were, you know, the peasantry, particularly at that time, and living on subsistence, dealing with things like the fall of Rome and invasions and kind of every other daily traumatic event. And so, like, do you think, I don't know, like, Jacob Farmer cared if it was 100 or 1,000? No.
Absolutely could not have cared less.
All he wants is that sweet, sweet, ergot-infested bread, like rye bread at the end of the day.
Yeah.
That's all he wants.
Wanted that ergot,
it could be
ergot poisoning and where to find potatoes.
Oh yeah, because it'd be way
God,
pre-potato.
We're pre-potato.
Yeah, like we're way pre-potato.
Sorry,
so
cabbage.
like, you know, it could be
cauliflower.
Cabbage. Yeah, it is. You know, it could be the year 2200, and he'd be like, I don't fucking give a shit. Like, it doesn't matter.
Literally makes no difference to this person.
No, I'm going to live. I'm going to be possibly miserable, and I'm going to die.
Yeah. Pretty much, like that's their life, yeah.
Like, he's definitely been, like, he's been bled because of, you know, imbalanced humors.
True, but I will say
Yeah.
he's got better teeth than the aristocracy. So he's got that going.
That is
for him.
true. He's got them them alpha chompers.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, like he can go like happy with that knowledge. His entire family will be dead by the age of 30, but that's okay.
They're gonna die with them pearly whites. The, like, what do they call them now? Turkey teeth? When everybody goes and gets, like, their teeth capped in turkey.
What?
Oh, okay. We're gonna need to take a pause. Rob, Google turkey teeth.
How the fuck do I even spell this?
Just like the country turkey or the animal. And it's not, like, if you see something that's in an actual turkey's mouth, that's not what I'm talking about.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Why do people feel
this
the
thing where
need to, like, get their teeth?
Well, it's because they want to go on Love Island and go, I got a text. I'm from Ballywickshire. And I like a guy with a bit, like a chap who's a bit cheeky. Like that, because that's what they want.
Austin Powers,
Like, and they need
Austin
turkey
Powers
teeth.
made it okay for us filthy Europeans to not have good teeth. They joked about it. It's fine.
A Canadian playing a British man.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, they just would be like, there's just gonna be guys named, I don't know, named Trevor, who are like, oh yeah, I'm in construction in Birmingham, and I like a girl with a big bum and like a bit of batter. He definitely has been on a trip that was called Lads on Tour.
Yeah, obviously. And the group chat was called the Banter Bus.
And they all had t-shirts that said Shagger.
Yeah, 100%. Like premium Shagger.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay, so that's, I'm aware now of what you mean, and people are going off and...
Side note, I once knew a guy who had gone on kind of that kind of, lads on tour stag do type trip, and he was, he uses a wheelchair, and so the shirt they gave him said Hot Wheels on the back.
I'm back on board now.
And he was like, God fucking damn it.
I'm completely back around now to it.
He was like, I'm offended, but I also love it. So
it's perfect. Like, I would have no notes.
So, yeah. He was like, they're my friends, and I sort of hate them. So...
No.
Anyway. No, they're okay. Anyway, we're back. So, basically... we've gone over the theory in a nutshell. There's been like 300 years wiped from the face of history with essentially fake news put in its place. So it's three lads who are basically gaslight, gatekeep, girl bossing everyone into removing 300 years from the historical record, even for modern historians. So let's dig into the criticisms because there are so many.
Absolutely, please
from
do.
the get-go. From fucking jump, historians have panned this. They've panned it since the neurons in Illig's brain fired to start conjuring the thought process behind this theory. And one of them is that it's entirely Eurocentric. So they're saying you're saying three dudes in Europe convinced the rest of the world to go along with this. Because they're like, we have, Tang Dynasty information, we have like rich histories from different civilizations in Africa and in the Americas, and from the time period they've, tried to erase. I mean, it's sort of the half-assery that you would expect from a Trump, Vance, Musk attempt to reshape history. That just, completely gets rid of any conception of people who are, non-men, non-white, non-European. So, there's that.
Okay.
In fact, historian Leland Gregoli attributes the ongoing persistence and popularity of this theory to just politics and ideology.
Right.
He says it's basically a Eurocentric nationalist desire to assert that there is no pre-modern history outside of Europe that matters.
Okay. Fair. Yeah, that's...
Astrophysicists.
They generally...
Also... I was like, astrophysicists also are pissed off, which I think it's kind of special to find something that both historians and astrophysicists are basically Wonder Twin powering to defeat.
Look, we gotta work together sometimes, those fucking nerds looking at space, like, they're good for stuff sometimes.
You do know my husband studied astrophysics,
I'm
right?
aware.
I'm aware, okay.
I know what I said, Susan. Thank you very much.
Yeah. So, astrophysicists are obviously saying, we have evidence of eclipses, we have all this, astro evidence that basically what you're saying didn't happen, fuck off. If this were to actually happen, they would have had to revise the history that's written in the stars, and I think somebody said, and they didn't, as like the concluding statement, which is incredible. And then there's also biologists and things who are saying, if you do carbon dating on different things like, trees and looking at tree rings, and there are lots of other natural indicators showing that these years definitely happened. Yep. And so finally, and this one is for me, and this brings us back to where you picked up on pretty early, is that Illig wanted to be his own little symbologist, Dr. Robert Langdon, Da Vinci Code master, to say that he had discovered the secret, for he is like the great revelator of, this thing that we've all been fooled into thinking for so long. He is the white man bringing us to knowledge. And honestly, this was happening in the 90s, or started in the 90s. Who knows, maybe he was even the inspiration for Robert Langdon, considering I don't think Da Vinci Code was published until like the early 2000s. But who who knows?
Yeah.
So that's the phantom time conspiracy.
I
It's not super paranormal, but the fact that people still bring it up, and you can still very easily find recently published articles that are like, ooh, have you heard of this? Gives you food for thought, and like and Reddit posts on conspiracy, like people are still talking about it, and that is, but not in the fun way, not in the wow, this is stupid way. Just in the, God, maybe we should consider this way. And I think it's somebody said it's a perfect example of the demarcation problem of like how the public, and basically it's a science communication problem. You know, how do we more successfully mark or demarcate between actual scientific fact and pseudoscience bunk?
Yeah.
And it's complicated, and yeah. So yeah, I hope you had fun with that one.
I had fun, but I absolutely hate it.
Yeah, you know, I figured you would.
Yeah, I have thoughts on these people. Look,
God.
we've established I have an archaeology and a history degree. So, you know, this is in my wheelhouse, and I feel strongly about it.
You're like, I will not be cowed by these
No,
fools.
it's a rich period of history that they've basically gone, nah, we're good, thanks.
Oh, I had multiple friends who did their doctoral thesis on that period of history in terms of literature and culture and history and all that. It's and from around the world, like, you know, Chinese history,
Totally.
Peruvian history, you know, I just everything.
Yeah, so this is the problem that I have with these people, is like they find something that they'll like make a theory on, for example this, and then it doesn't take much for them to like, once they cast doubt in someone, they can like convince them of other stuff then at the same time. So like,
Yeah.
it's one of those weird things that like it very quickly leads into like,
Well, it's like we were saying, it slides right and racist and
Totally.
like sexist and all that so quickly.
Totally.
Because then you're like, if they could erase 300 years from history, then they could lie about things like, you know, like the Holocaust, or you know, like it's a cover up. It's, you know, all this other completely horrible, untrue shit.
Absolutely. And like, and that's the problem that I have, is that these people challenge, it's not even challenge a narrative, they challenge fact and somehow manage to like find some weird way of like talking themselves into justifying it and how they're correct. And once they get people in, it's like, it's so easy for them to just sway them in whatever direction they want then, with convincing them that of their like bullshit pseudoscience. Like, it's infuriating.
Now, I will acknowledge that it is probably like the most believable thing about it is that 3 white men in charge could have the audacity to try and do this. Now that I believe.
Yeah, and I think that's the problem though, is that like they find something with this where they'll be like, oh, they were such amazing kings, or they were so like conscious of their time that, you know, they wanted to establish how strong they were, and they them like changed the calendars to suit that and all. And I could see people being like, oh, that's fucking cool, like that's so cool, and then they're hooked in straight away.
And it's far enough back that you can kind of say whatever you want, and somebody is less, like the average, like the lay person who doesn't specialize is less likely to be able to refute it with facts.
Exactly.
You know, immediately.
Yep.
Whereas, because I'm like, you know, this is like, people have changed the calendar. Like, yeah, we did move from, you know, the Julian to the Gregorian. Like, calendars do change. That did, and then, you know, in the French Revolution, they put in their own calendar for like 13 years or something. Like, it doesn't mean that like you can just, I don't know, because I think if we can start looking back and just erasing things from history, there are other things I'd rather erase. And it also, this makes me mad, because I feel like the people who would support this kind of theory are the same ones who would be mad at a Confederate soldier's or like leader statue being taken down, because they'd be like, you can't rewrite history.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. And then they challenge the narrative of that as well by even saying, you know, like, oh, they were defending their family.
Oh God.
And it's like, I'm sure that's what they were defending.
As someone from the American
Exactly.
South, the amount of times I've heard people try and defend like the cultural like goodness of the Confederacy.
No, they were fighting
and,
for their
the,
culture.
The morality.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And I'm like, what culture? We fry everything. Yes, it's delicious. No, it's not a culture. Like, come on.
Yeah, it's one of those things that it's a slippery slope, and even if it doesn't lead into like far right talking points or anything like that, it does lead into people believing like just fucking mad stuff that they just have no business like believing in.
Oh, 100%.
Oh, totally, yeah. It's one of those things that it's a slippery slope, and people get caught into it like worryingly easily. And then there's like it's like once you get them to believe something with any like a tiny bit of evidence, like they talk about how this could have happened, and all of a sudden they're using it to justify how there's like a secret government order that's running the world and all this, and it's
nope. So what we presented is supposed to be funny because it's funny and stupid.
Oh, it is. They're
not
absolute
real.
idiots.
And it's hilarious to kind of deep dive into what it is or they think it was and how they justify it, all that. But ultimately, I think I'd like to end on like, please, if you have not already done so and continue to do so, please become like critical thinkers around different types of media that you consume and
do your own research.
Like, oh God, yeah. See, like, yeah, Jesus Christ. Oh, fuck it. All right. So
no, just could read shit. Like, could read from different sources. Don't just like consume the same shit all over. And
I was gonna say, if you're consuming loads of shit that is just yelling the same like inflammatory, like if what you're reading is making you angry over and over and over again about the same things, then you might be locked in an echo chamber you don't want to be locked in.
For sure. And that's it exactly. Just you know what? Go to a museum. If you have some strong feelings on how it's false, go to a museum and actually look at the artifacts in front of you.
Yep.
Like that pretty much.
And if you're in Dublin, I want to shell out for the Archaeology Museum. It's one of my favorites in town, and they have these really cool bog bodies that they uncovered that are super like interesting to like look at and read the context of and all that. I have a really good time.
Yeah, the
there.
National History Museum
Every
in
time we
Dublin
go.
is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Cannot recommend it enough. They have really
great.
cool exhibitions, really cool artifacts there as well, and they like it's just a nice building. You just walk around,
and it's totally free. And they do cool stuff. Like at Christmas, they do or at least this past kind of holiday season, they did they had people like dressed up, and they were doing it was kind of a medieval fact trail you could follow. So they'd had somebody who was dressed up like a candle maker and was showing you the process of how they would have made candles and all this and other things that was super interesting. And that was where I actually ran into Lisa from the Beer Podcast, Beer Ladies podcast.
Yeah, you told me about that. So, that was amazing.
Yeah, it was wild. I mean, that happens in Dublin a lot because Dublin is the biggest small city of all time.
It's true.
But anyway, okay, we've been yapping. We've been speaking Japanese for a long time. We've been having yappuccinos. True. We need to get off. Yeah. So, Rob, tell them where they can find us.
You can.
Then it's not a conspiracy.
True. Okay, fair. So I'll only talk about the mainstream media sources. So
exactly.
So you can find us on Instagram and Threads at the Spooky AF Podcast. You can find us on YouTube at Spooky AF Podcast, which we actually now have to start acknowledging our YouTube people.
Rob, I don't want to talk about it. It stresses
I'm
me.
Aware, so we don't get any comments. We just get views. So it's actually probably the perfect interaction with YouTube.
Oh, thank God. Oh, thank God.
You can also get us at Gmail at the spookyafpodcast@gmail.com. I would actually personally love to hear your thoughts on this one. So please reach out to us on Instagram or at Gmail.
I would also love to hear specifically if you guys have any, what would be like, if you were on Archive of Our Own and you were looking up like fanfic for what happened during these 300 years, what would it be?
Yeah.
Like, what would you talk about if you had to make up shit happening? Like, who would be your favorite ships? Like, who's so, like, queer coded and, like, I don't know. It just have fun with it.
There's a lot of potential. There is. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, that's everywhere you can find us. We're not on too many places, but where we are, we have lovely communities.
Exactly. All right. So Rob and I will take a 2-minute break to upload these, and we're going to immediately record the next episode, but y'all won't hear us for a week.
Exactly.
So talk to y'all later.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.